So it looks like we're getting some new releases from McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse. We're getting Lobo with his Spacehog, as well as a classic Wonder Woman. But are these the DC Multiverse releases that we've been waiting for, Soulmates, and are they worth your money? Be sure you stick around until the end, guys, because we're going to talk about what we'd love to see from McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse next. Well, the first action figure that we're going to talk about today, guys, is going to be Lobo, and this one is a gold label exclusive that's available on Amazon only. This one is quite notable because Logo comes with his Spacehog, aka his bike, but he also includes dog, he also has a chain and a guitar, he has a base for his bike. This one actually comes pretty well loaded, even comes with an alternate head, so there's a lot of accessories included with this package. We might as well get it out of the way that this is a re-release of the action figure from 2021. Fortunately though, that Lobo was a very good action figure and one of the best DC Multiverse releases of the year, so I'm not mad that this one is kind of just a straight re-release with some new heads. And honestly, the heads here are much better than what we saw in that previous action figure, because the head on Lobo was perhaps the biggest criticism that I think everyone had about that one. It was alright, but obviously looking at the heads that we're getting with this gold label release on Amazon, this is a lot better. It's kind of a relief that we're finally getting this set, because we've heard about Lobo Spacehog for a couple of years now, ever since Lobo came out, and at the time I thought that it wasn't going to be all that long until we finally saw it, and then of course about a year passed and I thought to myself, well, I'm not so sure that this is actually going to come out at this point. And indeed, it did take a while, but it's finally here, and I guess I shouldn't have lost hope, but there is the matter that this is an Amazon exclusive, exactly like the Batman 1989 Batmobile was, which very likely is going to mean that it's going to be hard to get. Of course, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, because I don't know that Lobo is going to be as popular as Michael Keaton's Batman was in the 1989 Batmobile. Lobo is one of my favorite DC characters, but I don't really know that he has that amount of recognition like Batman does. So we will see on October 27th whether or not this one is actually going to be available, but right now I'm a little bit skeptical, because the debacle surrounding the 1989 Batman and Batmobile was such a mess that it was really hard to enjoy the toy after I got it and reviewed it. I was eventually able to get that set and review it, but by the time I got it, there were so many reviews out that it wasn't necessarily worth my time to review it. If the availability on this set is a lot better than the 1989 Batmobile and Batman is, I think this is going to be a pretty easy slam dunk for McFarlane, because this is a very desirable set that we're looking at. Everything looks really on point here. The sculpting on Lobo was already really good, and he was already a very nice action figure, but the bike here looks really good as well. It looks like sort of a mishmash of a lot of different parts of Lobo's history that add up to a very cool looking bike, I think. And plus, all the accessories that we're getting here are so nice. The colors on this look really cool too. I love that metallic light blue that they're using against all the neutral gray colors. I feel like the effect adds up to a very pleasant whole, and it doesn't feel like any part doesn't really belong together. It sort of looks like Lobo clashes with it a little bit, but I think that's a good thing, because Lobo is the kind of guy that clashes, so it works for me. It's not very often that I look at a DC Multiverse product these days and say to myself, yes, this is an obvious slam dunk, this is an obvious W, because a lot of DC Multiverse releases that I've seen of late have just not been very good, but this one I think is a cut above the rest, and I do think that he's worth your time to check out. And I hope that he lives up to expectations, and I hope that everyone who wants one is going to be able to get one. If this works out and everything goes smoothly, I think that this is easily going to be one of the best releases of 2023 from McFarlane's DC Multiverse. But we do have to see, because this gold label exclusivity stuff that we've been seeing from them so much of late has been nothing but a hindrance to the line. The fact that this is not a general release is a little bit of a problem, because we haven't seen all that many general releases from McFarlane's DC Multiverse over the past year. Everything that's even remotely desirable that you'd like to have from DC Comics has been a gold label exclusive in some form or another. The last release I can think of personally that was an obvious W and also a general release was Nightfall Batman. And even that one had distribution issues. It should have been such an easy slam dunk for McFarlane Toys, and everyone who got that release thought very highly of it, but the fact still remained that it was a struggle for everyone to get it. And similarly, it was a struggle for everyone to get the '89 Batman and Batmobile to the point where you kind of just have to get lucky on Amazon and see if you get it or not. And that really shouldn't be the case with toy collecting, because at the point that it becomes like that, it takes the joy out of the hobby, and you would really just rather do something else then. Because for the average person, why would they want to collect toys if it becomes stressful? That really defeats the purpose for most people. If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. And if you're enjoying this Lobo and Wonder Woman DC Multiverse video, please give this a like, guys, because these take a lot of time to put together, and I really appreciate it. The second new release we're going to look at from DC Multiverse, guys, is Wonder Woman. And this one is one that everyone has wanted for the longest time. It's only taken McFarlane Toys nearly 4 years to finally produce one, but here she is, and she looks pretty good, admittedly. As of now, we don't really know all that much about this release, but from what we've seen, it seems like it's going to be attached to some sort of digital foolishness, but for what it's worth, this is going to be a physical release. And it looks like she comes with quite a few accessories. She comes with a lasso, it looks like. She comes with a shield. She comes with a sword. And that's like all the stuff that you really need with a Wonder Woman action figure, I think. Besides that, when you look up close at her, it seems like she's got some pretty nice textures going on. Of course, she's wearing her classic costume, but you can see the armor-plated look of her corset. You can also see the leathery texture of her boots, and there appears to be a relief element on the trim around the boots. This does appear to be something of a new sculpt, so I'm pretty pumped about that. If it is not a new sculpt, it does look like the reuse on this one is so impeccable that I can't really tell the difference whether or not it is. And as I like to tell you guys, that's the best kind of reuse, the sort where you can't really tell all that much. Some people are a little bit bothered by her head sculpt, it seems like, but I feel that the head sculpt looks fine. I think that the hair flowing in the wind is good. I think that the shape of the face looks good. I think this looks like the character we've wanted for the longest time, and I think that it's everything I've really wanted from this sort of action figure. I will say that I'm a little bit surprised that we're getting the classic version of the character, because I always thought that whenever they got around to her, we were going to see a rebirth version of the character and not necessarily the classic one. But I guess they're focusing a little bit more on classic stuff recently, which is fine by me. I'm just surprised by it is all. Another exciting thing to consider about this one is that with this action figure, you do get a Justice League team pretty much completed if you've collected a bunch of other characters throughout the history of the line. For instance, Batman, Superman's, Aquaman, Green Lantern, Flash, Martian Manhunter, they've all been released in some form or another. So if you've collected those throughout this entire time that McFarlane has been making DC Multiverse, you've got a finished Justice League team. And that's pretty awesome, honestly. Obviously, we need to know more about this character because I just don't know all that much at this point in time. So I don't know whether this is going to be a gold label release, and I really hope it is not. For the sake of this action figure and for McFarlane's DC Multiverse, I really hope that this is a general release like Nightfall Batman was, but I hope that the distribution is better than Nightfall Batman was, because this is a really obvious slam dunk. This is an action figure that everybody is going to want. This is an action figure that they're not going to be able to keep on shelves. I still don't know that I would say that DC Multiverse is my favorite line right now, because they've been doing a lot of things I really don't like, with just plain bad releases and lots of repaints, and Virtually no new sculpts of late, but this, I have to admit, I like a lot. And if they do more things like this in the near future, I can see people being more enthusiastic about DC Multiverse going forward. We obviously need to see what the action figure is going to look like once it finally drops, because right now we're just looking at a promo photograph. When it drops, it could look completely different from what we've seen here, and opinion of this action figure could change very much. That actually happens to quite a few releases from McFarlane Toys, where a promo photograph of something will drop and people will be enthusiastic about it at first, but then the actual action figure will drop and that photography will be much less flattering and people will suddenly cool off on the action figure, even though at heart the toy is still good sometimes. So far though, things seem really promising, and I'm kind of excited for both this and Lobo with his Spacehog. Really looking forward to completing a Justice League team at some point in the near future with this Wonder Woman, as well as a few of my other classic DC Multiverse characters from McFarlane. And although this is a pretty decent release from McFarlane Toys, one does have to take a look at Power Princess from Marvel Legends and think that that's a pretty good release too, and it might actually be a better Wonder Woman action figure in some respects than this one is, but that's kind of a matter of taste. I think that they're both good action figures, and also they're not really comparable because this one's going to be a 7-inch action figure, whereas that one's going to be a 6-inch one. I will say about this classic Wonder Woman that it's a little funny that McFarlane drops this one not that long after Marvel Legends drops their Power Princess as part of the Void Build-A-Figure wave. I don't know that one is necessarily going to be better than the other, but you do have to wonder if it finally took Marvel Legends to prompt McFarlane to finally drop this release. What do you think about these new releases, guys? Are these ones that you have to have for your collection? Do you like one but not the other, or are these just not really doing it for you? I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and be sure you let me know what characters you want to see next from DC Multiverse. If you'd like to learn more about the DC Direct Batman the Animated Series action figures, you can watch that video here, soulmates.